Hello, welcome to The Honest Wargamer. I'm your host, Rob. We're in week 2 of competitive Age of Sigmar in 2025. Obviously, the Battle Scroll came out just before Christmas, and we're going to be diving in and looking at the results of the events this weekend. Now, a quick caveat. This weekend, I think we've only got 5 or 6 results, 5 or 6 events, but next weekend is insane. Not only is it the LVO, there are 11 other events next weekend. So it's probably going to be one of the busiest events that we've had, one of the weekends we've had in a very long time. So we'll get a real shake-up of looking at lists, what might do well, and a bunch of other stuff. So very much looking forward to next week's show. This week's show is still good, though. Don't tune out, because we've got lots to talk about. So we're going to be covering events in England, and also just a shout out to the English community for a moment, because I think it's worth talking about a couple of things. Number one, this weekend, there was a big event in Wales called Brotherhood. It's a team event where teams of 6 would battle it out, and it was 22 teams of 6 people. Now, because it's team events, I don't generally tend to cover that stuff, because generally they can sometimes be a little bit like an edge case list, but sometimes not as well. And also, I just don't tend to. But anyway, shout out to the teams that did well and had a good time. But importantly, this means that just in the UK alone this weekend, there was 180 people playing competitive Age of Sigmar, all in one weekend. And I think that's something that we should really shout out about it, or the UK scene. That's pretty cool. So there's a lot of people playing Age of Sigmar in the UK scene. I think that's worth talking about. Also, before we go and look at all of the event results here, I think it's also worth mentioning that the club rankings have been updated. There you go. There's my note from my producer, Rob. Shout out to Warhammer Rob. And he said, remember to look at the club rankings. Well, if you are part of a club, now, if you are using BCP or Malarkey or Tawny Keeper or Exon or the Pun Pun, or whatever you might be using as parent software, make sure you put down your club name. The reason that's important is because we've got club rankings, and you can now look at your club rankings based on region. So if we go and look at the United Kingdom, you can see that in first place is the 9-inch Fails, but behind them, quite a lot behind them though, is the Plymouth Troll Slayers. 9-inch Fails also 5th in the world. Plymouth Troll Slayers 16 in the world as a club. Then you got the Warrior Lodge, Team Lit, Team Bash, Fist of York, and Mad. I think Team Bash, this is adorable. It's a group of lads out of Derby, which is an awful town near me. But those guys being 38th in the world and 5th in the UK, they're going to be pumped about that, which I think is cool. Now, if we go look at the Philippines, I know, a little bit of a contrast. We can see that 250th in the world, but top club in the Philippines is the Wartilio Gaming Club. Then you've got Adticart Gaming and the Lumiere Realm Lords as well. Then if we go and jump and look at Australia, we can see the Cake Thieves are very close. They're in first place, but it's very close margin. They could potentially lose it to the Lost Legion Geelong. All of these rankings are going to run until the summer. And then we're going to do this every General's Handbook to General's Handbook. So kind of like 3-year seasons. And we'll do an award show online. It'll be like the Oscars, but not as funny. And like the Oscars, but not as good. And also, no one will care. But then that's how it will be exactly like the Oscars, I think. So then you got Model Citizens, Exiles, and Measured Gaming as well. And then if we go look at the USA, as you can see, they basically dominate the top spot. Got Harambe's Heroes, Tough Crowd, Georgia Warband, Corsairs, Dimensional Cascade. Now, it's super tight. There's only 102 points between Harambe's Heroes, based in Texas, and the Tough Crowd for the best club in Age of Sigmar for season 1 of Age of Sigmar 4. That's a big award coming to them sometime soon. So very, very close, and I'm really looking forward to it. So that's going to be cool. Anyway, that's a fun thing you can go check out on the honestwargamer.com. There's also overall rankings, so you can go look at like players and how they're doing, and that sort of Tom Guan doing really well. So you can go get all those results in and go have a look at that, and hopefully you'll enjoy that. But it's to say there's loads to play for. If you are playing Age of Sigmar, play for yourself, play for your club, play for your country. Some would argue this is the real World Championships. That's what I would say. So the first event that we're going to look at today was in the UK in High Wycombe. 24 players at the Sigmar Calls event taking place in High Wycombe, like I said. In first place and the undefeated player in the 5-0 bracket was Christian Salvage with Stormcast Eternals of the Bucks Wargaming Collective. That's his club. So looking at the list, you can see he's got Karazai. He's running the Lightning Echelon battle formation. Karazai, 4 Storm Drake Guard, then 6 Vanguard Raptors, long strike crossbows, 3 Praetors, 3 Aether Wings, Knight Arcanum, Envoy of the Heavens, and 5 Vigilers. And this will be a recurring theme, at least today, because one of our other GT winners was also running 4 Storm Drake Guard. It's worth pointing that the new the Honor Guard ability, Prized Beast, allows them to get +1 to hit, and they can also get +1 to wound at another point in another buff that they can get. So Storm Drake Guard are back, taking us straight back to 2022, with also obviously those long strikes still being worth it seems, at 400 points, or a reinforced unit at 400 points. Praetors, bodyguarding Karazai, also making that another killer unit. Very, very effective. So massive congratulations to Christian. That's very cool. Then going into the 4-1 section, we can see that Pete Brizio was running Slaves to Darkness, God's Wrath Warband. His general regiment was Be'lakor, reinforced unit of Chosen, another unit of Chosen that was reinforced, so 2 units of 10, then the Gaunt Summoner, and a Chaos Chariot, and a unit of Chaos Knights. So obviously you're going to be able to use the Gaunt Summoner to teleport a unit of Chaos Chosen. Chaos Chosen have got the Banner of Screaming Flesh, which is going to give them a 3d6 charge and +1 attack on the charge. Then you can put the 10 of them inside a Gaunt Summoner, who, because he initially starts as pledged to Tzeentch, is going to be able to make a 2d6 move, pop out the unit of Chosen. I think it's something insane, like a 50-inch threat range, potentially. Yeah. It's a Chosen Pokeball. Exactly. That's exactly what it is. So this is very good. This isn't the most smooth brain list, but it's a pretty good list. And shout out to Pete for running it. Well done. Calvin Smith, also on a 4-1, was running the Pooches of Corn. That was the name of his list. His Murder Host list, he had a 5 ward after. Anyway, he's got the Wrath of Corn Bloodthirster. He's running the Murder Host battle formation. He had a Bloodthirster of Insensate Rage as well, so that's 2 Bloodthirsters, then a Bloodthirster of Fetid Fury for 3, and then he had a Herald of Corn on Blood Throne, and 3 units of 5 Flesh Hounds. And that makes a lot of sense, really, because obviously the Bloodthirsters are super good, 3 of them, and then going max 4 is always really fun, but going for 3 and then giving yourself more utility with the Blood Throne and then the 3 units of 5 Flesh Hounds to do a bunch of battle tactics and grab objectives is probably objectively more. It's probably more sensible than just running 4, but obviously running 4 is the true play. Michael Browning was running Flesh Eater Courts, and it's great to see a Flesh Eater Courts 4-1. Obviously, he was running the Lords of the Mana Lords of the Mana battle formation. I apologize, and the Manifestation Law, the Morbid Conjuration. His general's regiment was Ushran. He had a unit of Crypt. He had a Crypt Haunted Courtier, and then a reinforced unit of Crypt Horrors. He had the Abhorrent Ghoul King or Royal Terrorgeist, a unit of Crypt Ghouls, a reinforced unit of Morbeg Knights, an Abhorrent Arc Regent, and a Varghulf Courtier. So the Morbeg Knights spam, or at least many units of Morbeg Knights, seem to be the way that it seemed Flesh Eater Courts players were going in the past, but taking a few other units to be able to do have more utility and be slightly have more tech on the board does seem to me very sensible. Quite like that a lot. And then Chris Riley was running the Lightning Echelon Stormcast Eternals list with Karazai, a unit of Aether Wings, a unit of Castigators, a reinforced unit of Prosecutors, a reinforced unit of Vanguard Paladors with Star Strike Javelins, and then a Drake Sworn Templar and a unit of Vigilers. And that's actually genuinely very interesting because the other dragon is much better, in my opinion, over the Drake Sworn Templar. I don't know why you would take that over the Star Drake. But he's also given him the same loadout that you normally would give that. You would take the Quicksilver Draft, you would take the Envoy of the Heavens. So that's a really interesting choice, actually. Whereas everything else is stuff that we generally tend to see in Stormcast lists. So, great event. Hope you had a nice time. Let's move on to the next one. Our next event takes us to Norway, where they have the Norwegian Masters. So if you don't know, or if you've not been looking at this, several different countries run something called a Masters circuit, where over the course of a year, sometimes they're kind of defined at really weird times, they take the people who've been best performing in their events, either using something like our ranking system or some other sort of system that exists, for working out who they would like to invite to the Masters. And then they do they basically get all the kind of players that have done the best over the year, and then they battle them against each other to see who is the best Pokemon at that event. which is cool. It's a fun system, and it's a nice way of keeping people who are kind of invested in their local scene to stay on board with it. As an example, I'm going to be running the UK Masters, so I'll be using the rankings that we have on the Honest Wargamer, and I'll be inviting the top 24 people to come and play at my Masters event here on like June the 14th and 15th. So that's what a lot of people do in their different countries. Australia has a rankings one. New Zealand have a Masters one. Sorry, Australia have a Masters one. America's a little bit more difficult, but they've got their new AOS Masters, which is like a team event that they do now at the end of a year, which is quite a cool thing. So yeah, very cool thing that lots of different countries do for their Masters. And this is Norway's Masters. So this is like the best of the best, the creme de la creme. And they're all absolutely fantastic. So, in first place at their event was Christian Brubaken of the 2D6 Club. It was organized by Benjamin Fluder, and it was held at the 2D6 Wargaming Club, which is this really cool, big gaming club, maybe the biggest gaming club in the world for Warhammer. Maybe there's like 200 active members, which is good. Anyway, Christian Brubaken was running Idoneth Deepkin. So incredibly tough meta. Norwegians are brilliant at Warhammer. Really tough meta, really tough community, really tough game. Some could say it was a tough crowd, and Idoneth Deepkin ended up winning it. So Manifestation Law, Morbid Conjuration with the Achillean Beastmasters battle formation, and then an Aspect of the Sea. Yeah, Aspect of the Sea was in his General's Regiment, a reinforced unit of Ishling Guard, a reinforced unit of Ishling Guard, another unit of Ishling Guard, and a Leviathan. And then the Regiments of Renown, the Saviors of Cinderfall. Okay, the Saviors of Cinderfall. So very fun. So now, interestingly, Deepkin were given a bit of a short thrift at the beginning of Age of Sigmar 4, but definitely now are considered to be one of the armies that can do really well. Leviathan in there is super good. I didn't go for the double Eidolon, which you sometimes see for just going out for maxed big units, doing some really solid work. And the Saviors of Cinderfall, so good into kind of the big piece meta. They're really good into wizards. They're really good into priests. So very effective. And some people say too cheap. Not really sure. Okay, so then because they run a bracket system, it gets a little bit complicated as we move into the 4-1s, but these are the 4-1s. So Olaf Atland was running Sylvaneth. His list named Sylvaneth V8. He's running the Lords of the Clan battle formation and a manifestation of the Aether Wrought machineries. His general's regiment was Alariel with a unit of Gossamer Archers. Belthanos then was running another regiment with a unit of Kurnoth Hunters with Scythes, and then a Branch Witch, and then a Warsong Revenant and a unit of Gossamer Archers. So very, very, very light on little units. It's just the 2 units of Gossamer Archers. Then the Warsong Revenant for magic, the Hunters with Scythes to do some big fighting, and Belthanos, and then Alariel as well. Very, very tight list, and actually seems very hero heavy, but very cool. Then you got Lassie Kalberg, who was running Stormcast Eternals in the Vanguard wing with the Manifestation Lord Kronspan Incarnate. He had Karazai, a Knight Vexilla, unit of Praetors, another unit of Stormdrake Guard. They are back. A unit of Vanguard Raptors with long-strike crossbows, Knight Arcanum, and a unit of Vindicators. I definitely said that wrong. Vindicators. Vindictors. Vindictors, sorry. There's no A. Anyway, Big Dragons, again, Stormdrake Guard, super back, get them out. And then lastly, Benjamin Fluder, who's running the event. His list is called Slaves to Darkness Warrior Spam. He was running Slaves to Darkness with the Godswrath Warband, his manifestation or the Forbidden Power. And then he had Be'lakor and a Chaos Lord, and then a Chaos Sorcerer Lord with 10 Chaos Chosen. Then he had 20 Chaos Warriors, another 20 Chaos Warriors as well. So that's quite interesting. So this way he had a lot of warriors on the board. So lots of bodies on the board, obviously doing really well at like completing the primary. And then obviously at some point you could just smash someone's face in with a Chaos Chosen, which is a pretty solid strategy. Anyway, that's everything from our Norwegian event. Really amazing community people. If you ever get the opportunity to go to their events, they host several different events across the course of the year in Oslo. And if you reach out, I'm sure they'll be really excited to have you over to go play games there. Beautiful country, great community. You should go play there. So our next event is in Spain, and it took place on a pairing app called, or website called Longshanks, which is fun. They seem to have some like fun little names, but excitingly, we've got some Flesh Eater Courts doing really well. So Flesh Eater Courts, super exciting. I'm very excited about this. So Flesh Eater Courts, our first list run by Gottray, pretty certain. was running the Lords of the Mana battle formation and the Manifestation Law manifested in Destiny, Insanity, sorry. Then General's Regiment was Ushran, a Mariskar Herald, 3 reinforced unit of Morbeg Knights, so see what I was talking about earlier, and then Abhorrent Cardinal, Morbeg Knights, and then Royal Beast Flayers ×2. So there we go. We go back to what I was saying earlier, where that 4-1 that wasn't all Morbeg Knights was actually far more impressive. So like that was a more impressive kind of 4-1, not more impressive than this, but Morbeg Knights definitely carrying the faction, at least it films, or you could just say carry on because it's the flesh. Anyway, in the 4-1, there was another Flesh Eater Courts, Lords of the Manor with the Manifestation Law Manifest Destiny with Ushran, Mariskar Herald, and then 2 reinforced units of Morbeg Knights, a Royal Terrorgeist, an Abhorrent Cardinal, Crypt Haunted Courtier, and a reinforced unit of Crypt Horrors. So again, lots of output, lots of recursion. Ushran just feels like, you know, like almost mandatory. And then in another 4-1, we have a Skaven Warpcog Invocation with the Manifestation Law Morbid Conjuration with a Greyseer, reinforced unit of Clan Rats, the Plague Pack, reinforced unit of Rattling Guns, a Warlock Galvaneer, and then a Warlock Engineer, a reinforced unit of Clan Rats, Warlock Giselles, and some Warp Vault Scourgers. So obviously, with 40 Clan Rats blocking up the front of the board, then all of the output is coming from all of the shooting at the back of the board, which is very strong. Very, very strong. And because you're able to put all of that output into the same units, you can really like focus down some large major threats, which is very, very cool. And lastly, we have Fire Slayers also in the 4-1 as well, with the Forged Brethren battle formation and the Manifestation Law, the Magmic Invocations. General's Regiment was the Auric Runesmiter, a unit of Auric Hearthguard, and then a unit of Hearthguard Berserkers, Berserker Broadaxes, and there's another unit of those as well that's been reinforced, an Auric Runesmiter, 2 units of Flame Seekers, a Rune Master, a Grimwrath Berserker, and a unit of Vulcan Flame Seekers, and then Gotrek Gurnison as well. So obviously, after we saw last week, we saw Fire Slayers do really well with Gotrek as well. So this is obviously a clear kind of like through line amongst the Fire Slayer community that this is something that's working really well. Last week we saw them top in America. Now we're seeing them do okay in Spain. That's pretty cool to see. Feels like it's a lot of these Hearthguard Berserkers, Berserker Broadaxes that are doing a lot of work. So yeah, very, very solid. So shout out to everyone in Spain. Hope you had a great time. Our next event is the, I think, outrageously named the Nottingham ARCT. If we're Age of Sigmar fans, we know there's a lot of differences in the nobility between a and the. And seeing as this is quite a small event, it was a Nottingham event and one that was apparently in the freezing cold as well. But we'll ignore that for a moment. And this UKTC run event had 16 people playing in it. And in first place, getting a 5-0 is Guillaume Fouado, and he is running Seraphon, Shadow Strike Star Host, Manifestation Law Morbid Conjuration, and guess who's back, baby? We've got Stormdrake Garda back, and Lord Croak is back. We're going back to 2022, and we're just absorbing what it was like. Because Lord Croak, Bastilled on with an Arcosotec, a reinforced unit of Croxigor Warpspawned, a reinforced unit of Saurus Guard, a Starseer, a Hunter's Hauncher with Starstone Bowler, Raptidon Chargers, and some Ripperdactyl Riders. That's right, we are back in 2022, where Croak's doing all of the work, Saurus Guard are protecting him, Croxigor Warpspawn, that is a new thing, smashing people's heads in. But still on with Arcosotec's got an amazing rampage, go read it, it does some really cool stuff, it's very fun. Starseer is solid, Hunters of Haunchy with Starstone Bowlers, very good. It is a Highlander list as well, that's a great shout. Congratulations to Guillaume for doing so well. And then in the 4-1 spot was Joel Stremler. He was running a Stormcast Eternal Sentinels of Bleak Citadels with Krondys, a reinforced unit of Prosecutors, a unit of Praetors, obviously for Krondys, then only 3 Vanguard Raptors, Knight Judicator with Gryphounds, and then a Lord Terminus, 6 Reclusions, 5 Vigilers, and 5 Liberators. So nice to see what seems to be close to a classic list at this point. But obviously now Stormdrake Guard are going to be much more popular. I hope everyone had a warm event, or at least they've warmed up now from the freezing cold conditions. The next event is the Dawn of the New Age, which is an event that I ran, but I have made an entire video about that, which is a video that will come out before this video, so go back and watch the event result. Collie won it, which is great. He's currently also the active TSN Arena champion for Age of Sigmar. So we do a rankings points just for our venue, the TSN Arena here in Nottingham. And Collie not only won the event 5-0, but he had Stormdrake Guard. I should also point that out. In addition, then he also got a bunch of sports votes and also coolest army votes as well. So he became the best overall at the event and also currently the arena champion, which is fun. But I made a video about that. Go check it out. Collie did great over the weekend and did some really solid work. And I think people had fun. Also, rise of another video. This weekend alone is going to make me make at least 2 more videos. One on Thursday, where I'm going to be talking about the smoothest brain list that you should play. And also maybe that should be how you play. Like becoming destruction brained might be the right thing to do, to be honest. Right, let's go look at the next event. Our last event takes us to Sweden, where we've got, I think, 14 people battling it out. And in first place, Ramsus was running his Slaves to Darkness list in the Godswrath Warband with the Morbid Conjuration. His General's Regiment was Bellicor with a reinforced unit of Chaos Chosen with the Dread Banner. Then a unit Chaos Knights, a unit Chaos Legionnaires, Chaos Sorcerer Lord with the Puppet, a Chaos Chariot, and then a unit Chaos Chosen and a unit Chaos Knights. So a little bit different to what we've seen previously, where it's just all chosen, and sometimes it's chosen with a little bit of extra stuff, which is nice. Chaos Legionnaires in there, very cool. Then in the 4-1 section, this is going to blow your mind. Johan with his Sons of Behemoth getting a 4-1. He was running the Taker Tribe subfaction. And then he had General's Regiment was King Brod, a War Stomper Mega Gargant, and then 2 Gatebreaker Mega Gargants. I'm genuinely upset that this happened. And I don't know how it happened either. I can only assume vast amounts of cheating. But still, Mega Gargants with a 4-1. Many people will be happy. And if those people could read, they'd be mad. Then in the 4-1 section also is Adam Saff with his Caradron Overlords, right? He was running the Engineers Guild Expeditionary Force, and he had an Endrinmaster with Endrin Harness, an Arcanaut Company, an Ironclad, 2 reinforced unit of Thunderers, then a Navigator, another Arcanaut Company unit, and 2 units of Endrin Riggers. So obviously, move around and shoot. That's all you can actually do is move around and shoot. And so that's what they're doing. Very cool, nice to see. Sweden's also a really tough, competitive meta, so some super interesting lists. And that wraps up this week, but next week and the next few weeks are going to be absolutely insane for competitive Age of Sigmar. We have got, obviously, the Las Vegas Open, as well as a ton of events next week. CanCon's coming up as well, which is going to be all the way over in Australia. So some massive events leading up to also the release of the Gloomspite Gits book, the Uruk Warclan book also, even though it's not necessarily maybe going to shape up the game. Maybe it will. Maybe Big Wild will be slightly different. But some very interesting stuff for competitive Age of Sigmar. And also we've seen post-Battle Scroll some big changes to things like Stormcast Eternals with Stormdrake Guard returning, Lord Croak returning as well, Fireslayer starting to be on the rise, Idnet Deepkin still continuing that trend of being really solid, but somehow like avoiding any nerfs or anything like that. Saves to Darkness, new book. It's only really been not that long since Saves to Darkness book came out. And I know it's very similar to the index, but still, people might play around with it and do some interesting things like we saw with the Warrior spam list. So there's lots to happen, lots to see, and still lots of trends and motion to be happening in competitive Age of Sigmar, which is very fun. So I'm hoping to see some big changes. Hoping to see some fun armies. And I got to say, the most important thing to always say is playing at events is the most fun. I think that's the reason. That's why I do all of this, because I think playing at these events is super cool. So you should go out there, play some games, because you will have a great time. So shout out to everyone. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks to Warhammer Rob again for bringing me all the content. And see you soon. Goodbye.